Well, happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday, October 4th, the 278th day of the year. There are 88 days left in 2022, and welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Thom. The weather's beginning to feel like fall. At least it is where I am. It's cool, it's crispy, but it's still hurricane season. Hurricane Ian was a monster. Seems as though I say that at least once or twice every hurricane season, but Ian was truly a monster. We were very fortunate to be on the other side of it, and we didn't get any wind, rain, or any such thing. When you live in an area, though, that is affected either directly or indirectly by a hurricane, you keep up with the comings and goings of hurricane season. To those who, quote, checked up on us during Ian, we thank you. But Florida is a big state, and fortunately, we were on the good side of this hurricane. Prayers and blessings to the people who took direct hits and even any indirect hits from the storm. I feel for you. I certainly understand your pain. Hurricane season is a way of life when you live on the coast. Every week at the beginning of hurricane season, I make an almost daily trek to the National Hurricane Center site where I can get the firsthand and accurate upcoming weather info situation with all the histrionics of the Weather Channel. A man standing out in the stormy weather and we get to watch the wind blow him around. What good does that do? What does that tell us other than there's a lot of wind blowing this man around? He's standing there in a suit. Anyway, I get the same information they get. When people call and ask me about the weather, I send them to the National Hurricane Center. That's where you go if you want to find accurate information as to what's going on with hurricanes. Our G-List guest today is Crystal Boyer. Crystal is a financial wellness advocate that serves as a client success director for Plinqit, a mission-based company that builds technology to empower healthy financial behavior. Crystal believes in financial education and how it can have rippling effects, leading to brighter outcomes and life-changing opportunities. This edition of Tuesday of Thom, of course, is brought to you, sponsored by our partners, the Best Girl consulting firm. Best Girl has been providing customized solutions to executive issues for 34 years. Let's hear from Best Girl.
Best Girl is a consulting firm that provides customized leadership, access and inclusion, public relations, communications, and organizational consulting services. Clients include Fortune 500 companies, utilities, higher education institutions, small businesses, and associations. Best Girl's team of consultants, led by Joyce Gilly-Gossam, Emily Hedrick, and Sean Jones, partners with business and education clients to promote organizational effectiveness, communication, motivation, and leadership, with always an impact on the bottom line. Best Girl's customized consulting services include strategic planning, corporate communication, executive coaching, fundraising, and economic development.
So let's get to our roundtable regulars and introduce Barbara Wallace Edwards and Michael Walker. Michael Walker is an insurance executive, or rather I should say he is an executive, but an insurance business owner. Living in Atlanta, Georgia. Barbara Wallace Edwards. Barbara lives in Birmingham, Alabama. She's retired from Blue Cross and Blue Shield. So good morning to you guys. And let's see. Barbara, you up first?
Good morning, Thom. How are you this morning?
I'm doing very well. And yourself?
Well, I'm feeling a little bit better today. I wasn't feeling well yesterday at all. I don't know if it was a layover from the weekend. I was in Auburn, and that game probably was enough to make me sick. But I am feeling better this morning. Thank you.
Well, good. What do you got new for us?
Well, Thom, I was in Auburn since basically Thursday of last week, and the university recognized the Black Greek organizations on Auburn's campus, celebrating 50 years of Black Greek organizations on Auburn's campus. And there was an event starting on Monday of last week, and I participating in a panel discussion on Thursday evening at the Jewel Collins Museum, where we talked about diversity in the workplace. Opportunity to meet some people that I have never met before at Auburn, Coach Johnny Harris being one of those. but had a wonderful time talking with students that came to that particular event. And then on Friday, there was a dedication ceremony dedicating the National Pan-Atlantic Council Legacy Plaza. And I'll have to maybe provide photos and stuff that we can share next week. But that was a phenomenal event. I think it was attended by over 300 individuals from the alumni, students, faculty and staff, city administrators, board members, trustees. It was really a wonderful, wonderful event where all Divine Nine organizations have a monument erected on campus in their honor. And basically right there in the center of campus. So great event. There was a reception on Friday evening, multiple tailgates on Saturday. So it was a busy, busy time.
When you say it was in the center of campus, campus has expanded so much. Where in the center of campus?
It's basically located right next to Parker Hall, if you're familiar where Parker Hall is located. So behind the Student Center, next to the new dining hall that they built there on campus, but right between the new dining hall and Parker Hall, which was the old chemistry building, I think, there at Auburn University.
Okay, well, that didn't help me a whole lot because I don't know about new buildings. So, all right, well, let's see what Michael Walker's got to say here. Michael, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well, TG. I hope you're doing well today. And Barbara, I'm happy that you're feeling better.
Thank you, sir.
Good. Great. So what's up with you, Michael?
Well, I got a couple things, Thom. One thing that I find very odd is that Glenwood, Illinois, the Glenwood Cougars football program, they have players up to age 14. There's a young man by the name of Tremaine Gandy. He is 13 years old. He plays on the football team, but he is academically advanced and just enrolled as a high school sophomore because of his learning ability. But the league has suspended the team for having a high school player on the roster. In other words, because Tremaine is enrolled as a sophomore in high school because of his academics, he's only 140 pounds and his body is not mature enough to play high school football. But because he is 13 and that advanced, they are going to suspend his team and the whole program for having a high school player on the team.
Rules. They got the rules, right?
Yes, that's what they're saying. The little boy, he wrote a letter of apology, and the parents would say, you have nothing to apologize for.
Okay.
This is something that should be lauded, but here's a young man that is playing football, and he's been playing in this league since he was 6 years old. So they know, about his maturity and his development. He just happened to be on the higher end of the learning curve.
Considering the concussion injuries, they may be doing him a favor in the long term of things. So what do you guys think about Tua and the concussions and where that has landed?
I don't think Tua had any business playing in that last game he was in. They should have never allowed him to play. He should have never been cleared to go back into the first game he was in. So I do think that the team probably will get some repercussions from allowing him to play.
Well, I saw the first concussion, which was at Sunday, and I could tell by the way he was tackled and the way he hit his head, that really jarred.
Mike is frozen again.
He only freezes when he talks.
I know.
When he's talking off camera, it's all fine or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I knew at that point that was a concussion. And I'm not a doctor, but I did spend the night at the Holiday Inn last night. But I knew he didn't need to come back out to play. And I was surprised that they allowed him to come back out and play football. And then to turn around and go and play 4 days later in Cincinnati.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just total mismanagement.
be honest about what the game is about. And the game is, it's a tough game. And I think if they were being honest, their job, do they see their job as protecting the players? That's a good question.
Should. That should be part of their job.
Well, if they protect all the players and they don't win any games, will they keep their job?
No.
That's a good question. That's a good question. But at the same time, if they lose those players, they're not going to be able to, they're not going to be able to play.
I agree with
anyway.
you, and I don't think I would want to play, but
right.
I think we have to be honest about what it's about, Now he could have taken himself out, and and most guys won't, and that's what I mean about being honest. The guys know he's got a position. They're paying him a lot of money, and he wants to protect his position. He wants to win for his team. And I understand that. I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't do the same thing, but it's a different thing.
And I could see if they had said, the team doctor advised him not to go back in, and then he'd make the decision to go back in. That's different. I think that would be on him. But from all indications, that wasn't the case. They cleared him to be able to go back into the game to play.
And now that doctor has been fired.
And he should.
Well,
and he should, in my opinion.
I agree. I don't know. So where's football headed, Thom?
I think if I had a son and he was small and he wanted to play, then I think he could play flag. Little kids, you were talking about the 13-year-old kid. They're not moving that fast, or they're not that big and strong, so maybe there isn't the danger, but it's pretty dangerous out there. Yeah, it's a dangerous sport, and I mean the lick on Tua when he bumped his head wasn't a hard lick. I mean, he just basically pushed him. But he was off balance and he fell and he hit his head.
Yes.
Which could have happened, in any case, in any instance. So it wasn't like anybody was trying to hurt him.
Right.
But that's where the doctors have to come in and say, well, look, let's just time out for a minute. Let's see if he's okay. Because that could have resulted in something that was
something major.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were watching the LSU Auburn game on Saturday night, but there was a player that I think the first play of the game, he basically went out, and I was praying he was okay, and I think that's the news is that he's going to be okay. But it doesn't take but a split second, and they could be out for life.
Well, and the thing is, it's not discovered until later in life.
Right.
And, but I don't know. I mean, who knows? It's not discovered later in life, and that made me think, well, a lot of disease-related things aren't discovered until later in life.
That's true.
So, I don't know. I just I tell you, and I've mentioned this several times, probably one of my favorite players, getting off the concussion thing for a second, is Jalen Hurts.
Yes.
Man, Jalen Hurts has been playing some ball.
Right.
And he's built himself up physically so that he's strong enough to take a lot of the hits. And so I've never been for the Philadelphia Eagles, but I'm for the Philadelphia Eagles now with Jalen Hurts.
I'm a fan as well. He's doing great.
I'm happy to
Tom,
see him
Tom,
happy.
we have a comment from one of our viewers, Jasmine Wright, my beautiful niece. She said, I think most players don't take themselves out when injured beyond ability to play out of fear of being penalized by coaches for doing so. And I can agree with that as well. She has a son who's actually playing football right now. I think was injured in one of his games, but he still wanted to play. And I'm sure that is part of this reason is that, they're afraid they'll lose their starting position, or, the coaches will be angry with them.
I don't know. I think, nobody wants to lose their starting position, but I think you just want to play. When you're playing, you just want to play. I mean, you've been you've been training for this all your life. You're out there now, and you don't want to come out.
Right.
Not because somebody will take your spot, but just because you want to play. And so it's a very contradictory situation. I mean, I got knocked cuckoo once, but I went out for a couple plays and came back in. That was fine. Maybe I'm not. Who knows? Maybe that's why maybe that explains my behavior sometimes. But who knows? We have to.
Yeah.
I just wish everybody could be safe, especially, and I don't. It's mainly at the professional level, somewhat at the college level, but I don't think you got to worry about the little kids
Right.
as much. But the pros, man. I mean, they're moving. Did you see where that guy knocked that guy off? The guy ran on the field last night, and what's his name took him out. He used to be a linebacker for Seattle. I can't think of his name. Bobby Wagner. Yeah.
I didn't watch last night's game.
I didn't either. I saw the highlight this morning.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Go ahead, Michael.
I heard about it this morning. Some fan ran out there on the field and he took him out and stuff.
Yeah, he did. And the guy was getting away. Whoever was chasing him, the guy was getting away from it. And Bobby Wagner came off the bench and just cold cocked him. He had to be a little bit crazy.
Had to be
out there on the field.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that remind me of the LSU game a couple of weeks ago. This guy walked out of the stands and walked through the end zone and just walked on the field of play. Yes. He had on some shorts. He's a little bitty, stringy looking guy. He just walked out there casually like he's on a stroll on a Saturday.
I was going to say, like he was strolling down the sidewalk.
And he stood about 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage and stuff and just watched the action.
Right. He had to be intoxicated. Had to have been.
So then when the security guards went out there to get him, he was like, "Get off of me, leave me alone," and stuff. And so they finally took him down and handcuffed him, but I don't know. It was just like he was just out there for a stroll. He just walked in the middle of the game.
Yeah. I don't know how he got down there past everybody that, just walk on the field like that. But yeah, it was interesting.
Well, I guess because he was so little and stringy looking, people didn't paying attention to him. People that of a certain stature, they go, well, he's no threat to anybody.
Right.
He just walked out there.
You said he was stringy looking.
Yeah, he was. He had little bitty arms.
He didn't look like an athlete at all. That's for sure.
Yeah. So they didn't fear him, they didn't view him as a threat. So he just walked out through the end zone, man, and onto the field. Just walked out there during the middle of playing.
Yeah, it's crazy now.
Yes.
I went to that game. What was it? Missouri. And was it the Missouri game we went to?
Yeah.
No, we went to Penn State.
Penn State,
Okay.
And man, I couldn't believe all those people. There was just so many people in so many places. I could see where somebody could walk out on the field. I mean, there's just people everywhere.
And they have more people on the sidelines and stuff now these days than I've ever seen before. I don't know what they're all there for. They have tons of people out there.
And I tell you, one of the things that's really different, in our games, which were, not quite 100 years ago, about 50. And, at the end of the game, man, the kids could come out of the stands and run across the field, and they could run up to you, and you'd give them your chin strap or give them your
Right.
sweatbands or whatever. It was just
Right.
a totally different environment. And I don't know. I hope they get to have that kind of relationship with the players, because I think that's what's important for the kids,
Right.
that they have that relationship with the players. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't see that guy, but I saw Bobby Wagner dick that guy last night. I didn't see it. I saw it this morning.
Right.
I've got to the point where I don't want to. I kind of get up the next morning and see what happened. That's maybe what I want to do, is see what happened. Do one.
Right.
And so,
By the
but
way,
yeah,
who won that game last night? I haven't even watched the
I
news this
think San
morning.
Francisco won.
49ers.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
they beat the Rams, and the Rams are the defending champions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but nope, Jalen Hurts is my guy now in the Philadelphia Eagles, and they're
Yes,
playing some great football.
they
It's
really
interesting.
are. They're undefeated, aren't they? One of the
Yes.
two
Yeah,
teams maybe that's
yeah,
still undefeated.
yeah.
Good. Good
I'd
for
like to
him.
see our team, Auburn, be a little more creative with the offense. Just
Mhm.
you know, throw the ball down the
Especially,
field
especially in the
once or
second
twice.
half. Especially in the second half. I don't
I
think we're
wonder
making
what
any second
happens
half
in the second
adjustments.
half. I wonder what
I don't
happens.
know.
They go into a shell
I
or
can't
what?
figure it out, Tom. I mean, we've had 5 games to try to figure this thing out, and
Well,
we just
obviously you're
can't
not
seem to do it.
alone. The coaches don't seem to be able to figure it out either, since it keeps happening.
No,
So
no.
I don't know. Anything else, Barbara, Michael?
Yeah, just quickly, I think this is kind of interesting that we have somebody on to talk about financial well-being and financial health. An Auburn University student is facing drug trafficking and
Saw
other
that.
related charges. And that's due to the fact that she was running an enterprise using a mobile app, selling ecstasy, marijuana, mushrooms, THC
Wow.
wax, oils, and pills. And she had a whole enterprise going on from her condo. Her name is Cindy Zing, 23 years old. And when she was arrested, they found $100,000 there, and along with all these other drugs. So she had a real enterprise going using cell phone technology to get the
Wow.
payments. So
I saw the headline, but I didn't read the story. I didn't realize she was an Auburn student.
yes.
Wow.
And I remember when, we were at Auburn, we thought we would be in the enterprise doing work study and stuff like that, making money
Right.
on the side or something
Right.
like
Oh,
that. But
I
she's
thought
taking
you.
it to a whole new level, man.
I thought you were going to say selling nickel bags. You didn't have to have an app. They didn't have to have an app. They just packaged it up in a little bag and charged you $5-10, and that was the deal.
Oh, the nickel bags. I forgot about that. They had a nickel
I
bag
mean,
and a dime bag.
yeah. People will find a way to do it, whether it's with a new technology or old technology.
Old technology.
They'll
That's
find a
true.
way to do it. I remember one of the guys I knew pretty closely. He and his roommate got busted, and everything they had was in their refrigerator. So it was in the refrigerator. So when the people came in, they couldn't find it, and they
Right.
only got them for a smidgen of what they had, because they never thought to look in the refrigerator.
Refrigerator.
So when the guys got put in jail, they, on their one phone call, they called one of their buddies and said, "Hey man, go get that stuff out of the refrigerator." They weren't worried about getting
Wow.
out. They was worried about
Right.
what was in the refrigerator. Oh man, I tell you.
Oh, those were the days.
Yep,
Oh,
yeah, they were. So anything else? Hurricane Ian was incredible, and
It was.
there's just a lot people will have a long time recovering, and you do when you live in one of the coastal areas. You're all. I mean, I've already checked it this morning just to see what's new at the Hurricane Center Hurricane app, and it's and to watch them, man, you can project. You know, the thing about it though is, if you go to the hurricane site, you can pretty much project where it's going based on the information they give you. So all this other information, well, it might go here and might go there, and spaghetti things they put up, and this one's way over here by itself. Probably not, but it's hopefully that was our last one of the year. Hopefully, so
I just like to say thoughts and prayers to the people that lost their lives, their families. The last count I heard was 86 people in Florida, and that's quite a bit. So thoughts, prayers.
It's up to 100.
It's up to 100 now,
something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if that's just in Florida, but yeah, it's 100 and something. And I don't know. Did you see the one where the man swam? I mean, so far to rescue his mom. His mom's in a wheelchair, and she couldn't get out, and so he took off swimming and swam to his mom's house. I mean, he's swimming in the street, but that's how flooded everything is.
Yes,
and rescued his mom. So I don't know, man. It's you feel for the people in Puerto Rico and Cuba and people who've been hit multiple times.
I didn't hear about the guy swimming in the street, but I heard about a shark going down the street in Fort Myers, Florida.
Really?
Yes, a shark was swimming down the street in Fort Myers, Florida.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just saw videos of people, the water, at window height, halfway at the windows and doors, and houses being flooded, and that's it's devastating to be just watching that. I feel sorry for all of those families that were.
Well, I can tell you this: Hurricane Sally. We live on a bay, and it's a 60-mile bay. It's huge, and it's amazing how fast that water can get up.
Yes.
Can get up to levels you never thought it could get up. I mean, we're like 15, 20 feet up, and that water got to the top of the seawall real fast. And so you just have to, as you say prayers for them. I mean, I can't imagine what it would be like to have everything destroyed. And people say, well, it's just stuff. You can get more stuff. But yeah, it's tough to start over too.
And, hopefully you have insurance, but you can never have enough insurance to cover something like this. And a lot of people don't have flood insurance, and that's where they get hurt in situations like this. And can you just imagine that you live in your home, normally you're not prepared to deal with a shark or an alligator. Sean said there was an alligator coming down the street. So you imagine you're dealing with the nature force of a hurricane, and you're trying to survive that. And then here's an alligator and a shark coming down the street at the same time.
Well, let me just do this because we need to move on. But now, Michael, you're the insurance man. So let's just put this one point out there. So if you've got insurance that covers your home, you have to have a separate flood insurance policy that covers floods. Is that correct?
Yes, usually it covers flooding. If you're in a flood zone, they insist if you're buying a home that's in a flood plain, you have to have a separate policy for flood insurance. Now, on your homeowner's insurance, you do have coverage for damage, water damage and stuff like that. But things like this, it doesn't cover the flood unless you have a separate flood policy.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, guys. Let's move on to Sean, and she's got a minute for us. Sean?
Good morning. My name is Sean Jones, and this is Got a Minute. Hello to everyone joining in with us this morning. It's Tuesday, October 4th, and on this day, in 1937, legendary blues singer Bessie Smith is buried near Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Some 7,000 mourners attended her funeral. Smith had been killed a few days before when the old Packard she was driving hit a parked truck near Coahoma, Mississippi, between Clarksdale and Memphis. There is no record of Smith's exact birthday, but she was around 43 years old. Here's a fun fact. There was a popular rumor held that the great blues singer Gertrude Ma Rainey, the leader of the Foots, had kidnapped the talented Bessie Smith and dragged her from show to show against her will. Now, naturally, it was not true at all. Rainey was Smith's friend and mentor, but it did make for great publicity. Thank you all for joining in. My name is Sean Jones, and this has Got a Minute.
Thank you, Sean. Okay, so Hollywood has the A list, and here on Tuesdays with Thom, we have the G list, and our G list guest today is Crystal Boyer. Crystal is a financial wellness advocate that serves as a client success director, for Plinqit, a mission-based company that builds technology to empower healthy financial behavior. So let's get Crystal on here, and we will go into a little more in depth as to what she does and who it helps and how it helps them. Good morning, Crystal.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. So tell us, first of all, about the name Plinqit. Did I pronounce it correctly?
It's Plinqit. So
Plinqit.
Like Plinko, except for Plinqit.
Oh, Plinqit. Who came up with Plinqit?
Yeah, so naming the company back when things got started, the sound that change makes when you drop it into a piggy bank, plink, is really, that's where it came from. But we wanted it to be an action, so we added it at the end, so Plinqit.
Okay, so tell us about what you do.
Yeah, so Plinqit is a goal-based savings app. And you guys have touched on a few financial situations that folks have. Everyone has unplanned financial constraints that come up and things that they need a little bit of a net, to fall back on. And so what we do is we automate that process. It's the pay yourself first thought mentality. Okay. How many times have you been told pay yourself first? So what we do is we automate that. They can take their any checking account anywhere in the United States and link it to Plinqit, and they just select an amount and a cadence of when they want that to come out, and then it goes into a savings bucket that they can access as needed. However, we allow them to do 5 different savings goals. So it's different than your traditional savings account where all those funds just go into one account. This one you can separate those out. So let's say unfortunately you had storm damage and you're going to have to save to replace maybe landscaping outside or your windows or things like that. You can put a savings bucket for that while still saving for your vacation next year or putting money back for medical expenses, things like that.
Okay, that sounds great. There was a guy in Birmingham where I grew up, E.G. Gaston. He was a millionaire. He owned several businesses and stuff. But he had a saying. He always said it was his motto: a part of all you earn is yours to keep. And that was his saying, and that was and he had all these. I mean, he had funeral homes, he had cemeteries, he had radio stations, he had hotels, he had all this. But in every one of those businesses, that was the slogan: a part of all you earn is yours to keep. And that you just reminded me of that.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see, Barbara, you got questions for Crystal?
I do. Good morning, Crystal.
Good morning.
I would like more information about Plinqit. Tell us exactly how it works. Now, is it just an app that someone can go out and select and say, I want to use this, or is this something they have to get through their financial institution?
Yeah, so we do partner with financial institutions. We do have Plinqit.com. They can go out and anybody can save with us. However, we do partner with financial institutions because I'm a former banker. Our CEO is a former banker. And what we know is that the community banks and credit unions are the heartbeat of the community. And we want to empower them and empower their savers with this tool. So it's actually free to the user because we partner with banks. So there's no monthly fee. There's no in-app purchases that you have to make. Like you don't have to pay per goal or anything like that. So that's another reason why we partner with them. We're also, obviously in my bio, you mentioned that I'm a financial wellness advocate, and so we do have the mechanism that helps people save. But another thing that all banks and credit unions struggle with is educating, right? Educating their members and their customers on making better financial decisions. And so part of Plinqit that helps with that is our build skills section. So what we do is there's articles and videos, nothing more than 5 minutes because we have a very small attention span. They can go in, they can watch a video, read an article, they take a quick 2-question quiz, and then we pay them for that. And we pay it into their savings. So they're learning and earning.
Wow, that's great.
That's great. All right. Michael?
Yes, Crystal, I often hear the term of healthy financial behavior. What is healthy financial behavior? And I assume it has to be a learned behavior.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that's different for everyone. And it's about being prepared for the unexpected. And so having that pay yourself first mentality, setting things back when things are going really well are going to help you when things are not going so well, or it's an unexpected expense. Also, healthy financial behavior is about being aware of your own financial situation. Most people these days, especially those of us that are on online banking and have been raised in the online banking, having that at our fingertips since the very beginning. Many folks who are in the financial space right now making those decisions never saw a checkbook. They don't know what a check is. They don't know what a check register is. And so they don't truly know what their financial situation is. They look at the balance for that day, but they may not be thinking beyond that day, or how did they get to that point? So I think awareness of your own financial situation is huge. And again, that's why these savings buckets that's a healthy financial behavior, because instead of putting the money into a savings account as just one bulk savings account, this allows you to really identify what you're saving for and visualize what you're saving for. Our application allows them to put a name on each of their saving buckets and then also a photo. So what we know is that visualizing your goal, I think I read you're 60% more likely to achieve that goal. So that really changes that mindset.
Okay.
Great. So
Go ahead.
You're going to say something, Michael? No, I was just going to say, so when you put money in, do you guys have the technology hooked up so that it makes that Plinqit sound, like when you drop the money in the bucket?
That'd be neat.
So you drop the nickel in there and it clinks.
I need to look into that because it doesn't currently do that.
Okay, go ahead, Michael.
I was going to comment on the healthy financial behavior. I was raised by my grandparents that were very conservative, and in particular, my grandmother. Her healthy financial behavior was making me think that we were one step away from the soup line. So I always thought we were very, very poor. And we go to the grocery store, and as a kid, they have the little bubble gum machine and stuff where you put a nickel or something in it. I always, after my grandmother get through paying for grocery, I asked for the change and go put some money in and get some bubble gum. She said, "No, you can't have. You're just making somebody else rich." And as a kid, I was wondering, who am I making rich? I just want some bubble gum, My grandfather used to say, "Ola May so so cheap she'll squeeze a dollar so tight it'll make George Washington cry. That was her healthy behavior, But speaking of, when debit cards came out and you're talking about checkbooks, and I know that some people that were maybe used to writing checks and then they got check cards or debit cards, they kind of got confused, especially the elderly. My biological mother had that issue because she thought the debit card was a credit card. And she was getting herself in trouble because she was using a debit card, and then she found out that she was having all these insufficient funds, and she accused the bank of stealing her money, which
Yes,
that wasn't happening. So I think that goes to what you're talking about, financial literature, especially with technology now coming of age. I think we have to re-educate. Do you guys do stuff like that? And that's just an example.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect example. And I spent 11 years working in a community bank, and even to the last year that I was there, I still had situations just like that. Someone was confused about how that actually worked. So the build skills section of the application, we call it build skills because we're really trying to give them bite-sized information to continually build their knowledge. And so I actually just approved an article the other day about overdraft protection. That is so confusing for the consumer. And so we want to explain what that is. We have an article about the difference between a debit card and a credit card. We have an article about even just simply what's a routing number. I mean, there's things that, especially if you're not a check user, do you know what a routing number is? Do you even know that that's on a check? So things like that are very important to level set and give them that base knowledge so that they can build upon it. So yeah, I think that is certainly, and if you're underbanked, and I'll say, like you were talking about your grandmother, making you think that you guys were, 2 steps away from the soup line. So growing up in my household, the only conversations about money were when we didn't have enough. There was never a discussion about what to do with money besides keep the lights on, roof on, food on the table. So that just was not a conversation. And for me, I didn't even have a banking account until I was already, on my way to college. And what I knew to be money management was that we would go to a grocery store and we would purchase these pieces of paper that my mom would then take to the electric company. So I watched that happen and thought that banking just was not even in my purview. So the build skills is extremely important for individuals like myself, that it just wasn't a conversation. It's not that she didn't intend to educate me about finances. She was doing the best she could. And so that's a reason why I'm such a advocate for it, is because I know that the underbanked are missing these little lessons that make such a big impact. If you think that your debit card's a credit card, that can put you in a really, really bad situation.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think just little things. You just mentioned something, but when I was in high school, we had what they call high school banking. And on Thursdays, we could bank. The bank was BTNB, which became South Trust, which became Wells Fargo, and so on and so forth. So I told the lady one time, I said, I'm probably your oldest living customer. I've been banking with you since I was in the 9th grade.
Wow.
She didn't go for it. But, just little things. I can remember graduating college and got a job with the phone company. Mm-hmm. And so I needed to invest money in clothing that I could wear to work every day. I didn't need to spend that money on clothing. I needed to invest that money on that clothing, because that money was going to allow me to make other money. And I think we don't teach people investing. We think investing is buying a lot of stock and but it can be simple things, such as buying a new suit. I didn't have a suit to wear to work. I couldn't go to work without a suit. And so I think you learn to do that. And so, and another thing is this morning, believe it or not, I had an email. Somebody had used my debit card and the bank caught it and it was, declined and so on and so forth. And so I think there's just a lot that we have to be aware of in terms of dealing with money issues, whether it's investing, whether somebody is using your account. And luckily, it came to my phone. And so I looked at my emails because I get emails overnight from people who don't understand that it's 3:00 in the morning. And so I just think the whole education thing is so important, and what you guys are doing in regards to educating people about money and how to use it, how to utilize it, how to make it work for you.
That is very important. And just like Crystal, you were saying that you didn't really know anything about that growing up. And same with me. My parents didn't get us involved in the financial parts of, the living expenses or whatever. They just took care of that. So I got my first experience when I went off to college and had my own apartment and realized, oh, I got bills, and yeah, I just can't just go spend my money how I want to now. I've got things to actually take care of, financial responsibilities. So what's your targeted audience for starting to educate clients? Because, as Thom mentioned, he had the awesome experience of having banking classes or banking activities as a freshman in high school. I didn't get that. And I think I suffered a little bit as a result of that. So do you your target audience start at a certain age level, or how does that work?
Yeah. So what we find is that the app is most useful for 25 to 45.
Okay.
However, some of the institutions that we work with have student checking. They have products for high school age. Actually, the financial institution I worked for 11 years, we had a high school bank, as Thom mentioned. So that was one of the things that we were doing as an outreach. And so those partners that have those programs, Plinqit is accessible to them, and they can absolutely start using it at that age. You can set a goal for as little as $5 a week. Right. And that is doable. That is doable for someone who's got their summer job, or maybe, they have, even if they have a weekly allowance, parents are able to pay digitally now, right? So they can actually save $5 a week automatically. So yes, they are certainly a target for some of the partners that we have. However, the 25 to 45 is, again, what we see the most success with. But we have even beyond the 45, we have a lot of our partners have those Christmas clubs. Does anybody remember Christmas clubs?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're saving, if you're saving with the Christmas club, it's going to pay out at the end of this month, right? Okay. So what we do is we offer to those Christmas club users, hey, you don't just have to save for Christmas, you can save year round, and the same thought process of what they're doing with the Christmas club, only digital and within the Plinqit space.
So a parent's watching this right now,
yes,
and decides this is a great idea for my 15-year-old to get them started to learn about money and how to save money, how to invest money, so on and so forth. What's the first thing they need to do to get involved with you guys?
Yeah, so they can go to Plinqit.com. When you register, it takes less than 5 minutes. All they need is a checking account. They do have to have a checking or savings account. They can link to a savings account if they'd like, but they just link that account. If there is a sponsor in the area where their zip code, where they reside, it will assign them to a sponsor, and they'll see that bank institution or that credit union's logo throughout the application. And if there's not, they'll just see Plinqit, and that's sponsored by us, of course. But yeah, Plinqit.com takes less than 5 minutes, super easy to sign up.
Okay. Michael, Barbara?
Yeah, Crystal, I like to ask you, how do you teach people the difference between making sound financial decisions versus emotional impulse financial decisions.
Oh, goodness gracious. Um, so, what we know about behavior modification is that positive reinforcement works, right? So, what we feel is that by getting a Plinkit saver to complete one goal, if they can see that that behavior got them to their goal, that's one step in the right direction. It's a mindset change to pay yourself first. Um, I Thom, you mentioned earlier you
Dr. Gaston, a part of all you earn is yours to keep.
yes, is yours to keep. That's a mentality. That's a mindset, right? And what we're looking to do is change behaviors. And if we can get them to save $5 a week for themselves, they feel good about that. They've accomplished something, and it's just one small step. And then the build skills, of course, just giving them that information. They just need the information. Once you know better, you do better. They don't know better.
That's
So we have to do that. I think that something that we've learned as financial educators is that beating someone up about a budget, telling them not to buy that coffee, that's going to affect the rest of their life every day, it's just not effective. And so we have to be positive, and we have to come at this at a place of education, and you can win. You can win at this. You can do this. This is a small thing that you can do to better your life tomorrow. And I think that coming at it from a positive way is a big difference.
Okay. It's kind of hard to do that with people that are 29 and 30 years old, and that's what I'm getting at. And I'm talking about my son. He's cash flowing. He's making money. Okay. But every time I look up on Facebook, he's off in Puerto Rico. He's in California. He's all these other places, but he won't buy health insurance.
Yeah. So so I have a 20-year-old, and she lives in Fort Myers, Florida, and thankfully does still have a place to go back to. But this was a very unexpected, obviously, financial event for her. However, I can speak to that because I also, you would think if you were raised by a banker, you would have more money smarts, but that is not true. That is not true at all. So what I tell her is they want to live their life, right? They're all about living today, not waiting till retirement to enjoy their life. And that's just their mindset. So what I tell her is, I'm not telling you not to go to Puerto Rico. I'm not telling you not to go to Cancun. I'm saying set a goal and get to that place where you have that money set aside before you do it. Just save for what you want to do is all I'm saying. Don't not do it. Save for what you want to do.
Okay.
And how does she respond? You're always trying to stop me from doing what I want to do.
I see you all have raised children.
I get the whole, well, she works in food service, so I don't know how much I'm going to make. And there's a million excuses, right? There's a million excuses. Right. And like, how much do you want to go to Cancun? How much do you want to do this? If you really want to do that, you'll make it happen. And they like a challenge. That they really do. And again, $5 a week, get them to start. It's really not much. But don't say, put $5 away instead of buying that latte. They don't like that.
Right.
Just say,
Right.
put $5 away and so that you can go on your trip and, just plan for what you want.
I like the idea of the Christmas club. I've forgotten all about the Christmas.
I know, you don't hear that anymore.
And,
they still offer it.
Good. I would think, let me ask you this, and I know you said it's the age, you gave us the ages of what the target market.
Mm-hmm.
Would you think that because youngsters, I mean, 10 years old, 12 years old, because they're so computer savvy today,
Mhm.
would they be a good target market for something
That's what I
like
was
this? If the
thinking.
parents, in other words, I'm going to give you your allowance and you can take half of it
Mhm.
and put it up in your account and watch it grow. Is that something that works these days?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually have another product. It is called Banker Junior or Member Junior, but it's currently only offered. You can't get to it unless if you actually bank at one of the institutions that offers it. But it's a gamified savings app for kids. And what we do there is we have games that teach them the basics, coin identification. They learn about budgeting through this cool little game where they can they dig, and every time they make a scoop, it costs money, and
Mhm.
they have a budget they have to stay within. So that one's really great. There's a closet, and we have a little guy that's a pig, and they can dress him up with the money that they earn playing the game. So it's just a really fun thing. And that is on our roadmap to bring into the Plinkett space. But it's not there just yet. But that program's been around since 2008. And I can say personally, my kids use it, of course. But at 2 years old, they can play the game for 30 minutes and they can tell you what all the coins are. They can
Oh,
recognize
that's
all the
cool.
coins. So yes, this age group learns very quickly through
Yes.
applications, and they
Yes.
absolutely, I encourage parents, if you have an institution that has a kids club, if they have a kids club or a kids account, chances are they're offering something like that, and it's a great place to start.
Yes.
Crystal, do you have anything that you'd like to talk about that we haven't brought up before we kind of wrap it out? We appreciate this. This has been very, very helpful, and
Yeah.
I'm hoping that some people will get their young people involved here.
Yeah, I think for sure the young people, but something that you guys are obviously very involved in football. I listening. So something I would say that I was thinking about when you guys were talking about football, because I don't know money. And I think that something we're also not talking about enough is these athletes and the money that they're getting, this influx of money, and those athletes not knowing what to do with that money.
Mhm.
I agree.
Don't just assume that the savings is for people who maybe don't have like large amounts of money. No, those folks that have large amounts of money need to also plan and also put
I agree.
money aside for those
Right.
things and be financially educated and have that
Yes.
wellness. So Plinkett is for every financial level, right? In any age, really. So I would encourage anyone who has an athlete and that's their plan, to be a career athlete, to think about something like this as well.
I would think that would be a market for you guys because they got this NIL now in college football
Yes.
where these young men are getting money for their name, image, and likeness. And
Yep.
if you've never had any money and somebody's now giving you $100,000 a year, what do you do with that?
Right.
They
How do
spend it. And
They go to
fast.
Puerto Rico.
They go to Puerto Rico. Yeah.
And they can't spend it in a vacuum because they got friends who don't have any money.
Right.
And so if you're going to hang out with your friends, you got to pay for them, Yeah, it's interesting.
Crystal,
Okay.
I have one last question before we go, and I know we're getting close to time, but what about Bitcoin? Does it work with Plinkett or?
Yeah, so that is something else, is that Plinkett is we're really trying to change financial behavior and educate and get good financial behavior started. We currently do not have Bitcoin connected. Like some of the apps, as you save, they then go out and purchase Bitcoin for you, right? It's not like that. Ours doesn't have any type of investment tied to it at all. We talk about investments, we educate on Bitcoin. We have a Crypto 101 article to just introduce what is it before someone takes that and goes, and spends money in that way. But it's not currently connected.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate it. That's great.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. All righty. Well, we will move on. Let's give Chris. So, my closing commentary for today, or as I see it, I watched the ugly scene with the Miami Dolphin quarterback Tua. I can't pronounce his last name. Last week, and I asked myself, would I play today? College? For sure. I enjoyed college. Would I try professional? That's probably a different story. Guys are bigger, faster, hungrier, and looking for that big check that comes with putting a quarterback on his back. It's true a guy will play if he can. If you leave it up to the individual player, he's going to play. He doesn't want to let his team down or his teammates down. But we know more now, and we understand more about brain injuries and how they can show up later in your life. Would I want my son to play? Absolutely not. But would I stop him if it was something he wanted to do? Probably not. Like most things that matter, it's a complicated matter. Very, very complicated. And I can only answer for myself. So don't forget, Alabama boys will be at the Googe Theater on the Auburn campus on the 26th and 27th of October. And that is how I see it on this October 4th in the year of 2022. That's our show for today. We want to thank the audience. We appreciate you. We want to thank Michael and Barbara. Thank our G-List guest, Crystal Boya. Thank our sponsor, Best Girl. Thank Emily Hedrick, Sean Jones. Remember to enjoy yourself. Make every day count. Stay safe. Peace.